In 2007, Nokia sold more than half the phones on earth. 51% of the market, $51 billion in sales. The most valuable technology company in Europe. That same year, a computer company launched its first phone and took about 5%. 6 years later, Nokia sold its entire phone business to Microsoft and effectively left the industry it had ruled for a decade. Now here's the part that should stop you. Nokia had touchscreen phones before the iPhone. It had a tablet concept years early. It had the engineers, the factories, the distribution, the brand, and the cash. It saw the future and had built pieces of it in the lab. So this isn't a story about a company that got out-invented. It's a story about a company that had everything it needed to win and lost anyway. The question is how? The easy answer is the iPhone was better. That's the answer everyone gives. And it's lazy. Because Nokia's own labs had the technology. Being outbuilt is not what happened. Nokia was the best in the world at making a device. And the market stopped buying devices and started buying an ecosystem. A phone plus an app store plus developers plus a software experience. Nokia had a giant, world-beating version of the wrong thing. And the reason it couldn't switch is the brutal part. The exact thing that made Nokia dominant, its mastery of hardware and scale, is the thing that made it unable to see that hardware had stopped being the game. Picture the best factory in the world for building locks. Every builder wants them, every door has one. You are the undisputed king of locks. Then one day people stop wanting locks and start wanting a security system. Cameras, an app, alerts on their phone, the whole thing connected. Your lock is still the best lock ever made. It is also now a component in someone else's system. And you have no idea how to build the system because you spent 30 years becoming perfect at the lock. That was Nokia, the finest phone maker on the planet, in a world that had quietly stopped buying phones and started buying ecosystems. Being the best at the old thing was worth almost nothing. Now let me show you the specific decisions, because this is where Nokia stops being a victim of change and starts being the author of its own collapse. These aren't bad luck, they're mistakes, and they have receipts. Mistake 1. Nokia kept its operating system, Symbian, long past the point of honesty. Symbian was built for a world of buttons, not touch, not apps, and rather than replace it, Nokia patched it, and patched it, and patched it. By 2009, Nokia was running 57 different incompatible versions of its own operating system. Every new phone needed its code rerun and retested from scratch. That is a company drowning and calling it swimming. Every one of those 57 versions was a decision to protect the past instead of building the future. Mistake 2, and this is the one nobody talks about, and it's the sharpest. Look at the money. In 2009, Nokia's unit sales fell about 8%, but its revenue fell 19% and its profit fell 78%. Read those three numbers again. Volume down a little, revenue down a lot, profit almost wiped out. Do you know what that pattern means? It means they were slashing prices to keep selling. The customers were still buying the phones, but they would no longer pay full price for them. Pricing power is the very first thing you lose when your product stops mattering, and Nokia lost it in plain sight. In its own financial statements, while its leadership told itself it was still winning because the unit numbers looked okay. The dashboard said, still selling half the phones. The truth, buried one line down, said, and nobody will pay full price for them anymore. Mistake 3. The developers left, and Nokia didn't understand why that was fatal. In the new world, a phone was only as good as the apps people could get on it. Developers went where the users and the tools were, which was iPhone and Android. Symbian was a nightmare to build for, so developers abandoned it. No developers meant no apps. No apps meant no reason to buy the phone. Nokia was still obsessing over the hardware, while the actual product, the software people could run, rotted. They were polishing the lock while the world bought systems. And here is the deepest cut. The thing underneath all three. Nokia's own engineers knew, middle managers knew Symbian was dead, but telling the truth upward in that company felt pointless and even dangerous, so they sent optimistic reports up while struggling below. Leadership, reading the rosy updates and the still huge unit numbers, saw no reason to panic. So the company's success and its size became a machine for hiding the truth from the people at the top. The bigger and more dominant they were, the less the bad news could reach them. A company gets utterly dominant at one thing. The market shifts to a new thing, usually one layer up from the thing they mastered. Their dominance becomes a set of blinders because everything, their skills, their org chart, their metrics, their pride is optimized for the old game. The bad news exists inside the company, but the company's own success prevents it from traveling upward. And by the time leadership admits the truth, they're behind by years, and the years cannot be bought back. The better you are at the old game, the more completely you can miss the new one. There's one decision I won't fully hang them on because it's genuinely still debated. In 2011, Nokia's new CEO chose to partner with Microsoft's Windows Phone instead of adopting Android. A lot of people call this the killing blow, maybe. But by 2011, the game was arguably already lost. Symbian was dead, the developers were gone, the pricing power was gone, and the years were gone. Whether Android would have saved them or just slowed the bleeding is an argument with no clean answer. And I'm not going to pretend I know. What I can say is that the Windows decision was a response to a collapse that had already happened, not the cause of it. And I'll give them one more piece of fairness. The former CEO later said, "We didn't do anything wrong, but somehow we lost." That line gets mocked, and honestly it deserves to be, because they did a great many things wrong, and I just listed them. But there's a sliver of truth hiding in it. No single decision looked insane on the day it was made. Protecting Symbian made sense when it was still selling. Trusting the unit numbers made sense when they were still huge. Each individual step was defensible. The collapse was the sum, not any one part. That's what makes this pattern so lethal. It never feels like a mistake while you're making it. So sit with this. Nokia is used as a lesson about failing to innovate. That's not quite it. Nokia could innovate. Its labs had the future in them. What Nokia couldn't do was believe the future. Because believing it meant admitting that the thing they were best in the world at had stopped being the thing that mattered. That's the hardest admission any successful company can make. The killer is the game we are winning is no longer the game. And the more decisively you're winning the old game, the more insane it sounds to say so. And the more your own numbers will reassure you right up until the end. So the uncomfortable question isn't whether you're good at what you do. Nokia was the best in the world at what it did. The question is whether what you're best at still matters, and whether anyone in your company is allowed to say it doesn't while the numbers still look fine.